Everything began around 2008, with a brilliant animator who had a lot of rejected characters and was willing to create his own universe for them. In 2011, after a lot of effort and with the help of lots of people, he was able to create it, his amazing magnum opus, a creative big bang where the amazing world of Gumball was born. We were gifted to glimpse this universe through a screen in our houses. This is the beginning of our story, and soon you'll get why. I hope you guys can give this video a thumbs up. It helps the channel a lot. And if you have a friend that watches Gumball or doesn't know about it, share this video with them. And comment below what is your favorite character from the show. Alright, thanks for helping the channel. And without further ado, welcome to the recap and timeline of the amazing world of Gumball. In this extremely colored crazy universe full of creatures, there are lots and lots of characters, and some of them are very, very old. Like Miss Lucy Simeon, with an unimaginable age. There's also Tina, who comes from the age of the dinosaurs. Principal Brown, the head of the school for at least 20 years. But the first characters that have an important role for us are Gumball's parents, Richard and Nicole Watterson. Richard is the son of Joanna Watterson, a cute pink bunny, and Frankie Watterson, a gray rat with a dubious character. His father was simply terrible. To put it lightly, on Richard's birthday he wouldn't get any gifts. He would sell the gift for his son. One day he said he was gonna buy milk and never came back. He abandoned his family, but Richard always hoped he'd return one day. His mother raised him on her own since he was little. She was really caring towards her son, and that was her problem. She was so overprotective that he couldn't do anything that could lead to the minimal risk of danger. That made him develop a fear for his own life. Doing anything sounded terrorizing. So, the only safe thing that couldn't make him panic was sitting on the couch just eating without thinking about anything. That got his brain to stop working properly. His mind got really twisted. His perception of reality got completely changed. When he was 12, he made a wish to a chicken bone, and it wasn't fulfilled. And that's when he noticed that magic wasn't real, which traumatized him thoroughly for many years. Yes, he was lightheaded, but a lightheaded with a good heart. And someone very important would notice that when he was in his school years. Nicole Watterson is the daughter of Daniel and Mary Cinnacourt, two extremely picky cats that believed that their daughter's success was more important than the love and compassion they should have given to her. When she was born, Nicole was already in a formal suit, which is very cute, but also very problematic. Their expectations were so ridiculously high that her schedule was way too busy for a child, making her do lots of things at the same time. Along with all of the pressure her parents put on her, she was also bullied by Miss Simeon, who mocked her every chance she got. The stress was suffocating, and she grew up with huge self-esteem and anger management issues as a result. One of the things she did to relieve her stress were karate classes. Nicole, along with Yuki Yoshida, were very close friends and very good fighters as well. Together they'd become masters of this martial arts, but that would split them as well. Nicole was stronger than her, defeating her at the end of a tournament, bringing dishonor to the Yoshida family. While Nicole would leave karate because of the loss of her best friend, Yuki would spend her life plotting revenge to defeat her in a fight. But, before she left the karate, one of the most important things of her life happened. She was headed to the tournament along with her parents when their car stopped in the middle of the road, so she decides to run for it, avoiding lots of obstacles on the park, until she meets Richard stuck in a tree log and decides to help him. His simple and naive way of life charms her, and she misses the tournament while Richard asks her why she'd want to go so much. She doesn't know how to answer and asks him what she should do. He replies telling her to start living her life, and that's how they spend the whole afternoon together. They start a friendship that would become a beautiful romance. Still, a romance that was not accepted by their parents, so they'd sneak up to see each other until it got too hard to maintain, getting kicked out of their parents' house as a result, forcing them to live together. They were alone and penniless, but were happy, nonetheless, until they got the news that Nicole was pregnant, and that's when they decided to get married. Nicole's parents didn't attend the ceremony, which made her very sad, but we'll find out later they got lost in the middle of their way. Sometime later, their first son is born. Zach? Yes, that's his name. Gumball is just a nickname that caught on so well that not even him would know his own name. Soon they get the mortgage of an old house located in Elmore's suburbs, rebuild it and make of it their new home. And, of course, give their new neighbor, Mr. Robinson, a good reception, who, since then, hates them. Their financial situation overall was always hard. Richard didn't have a job and was never able to find a job. None of them had qualifications, which made things harder. Nicole provided for her house on her own working at the Rainbow Factory. She had to work overtime to maintain the house and still got paid in peanuts. To make things even worse, Richard once bought a star. Yes, one of those from the sky. That debt would be a pain for them for years, making their situation even worse, forcing them to buy the worst brands of foods to save money for everything. Their MP3 player was a calculator with earbuds taped on them. Despite every struggle, Gumball was able to grow happily and with lots of energy. He had a best friend named Fuzzy as a good company, but one day he left. So, to cater for this lost friendship, Richard gave him a goldfish. Gumball, though, was very reckless, and that fish always ended up dead. They'd throw him down the toilet, then bought another one so he wouldn't notice it. One day, looking for a new goldfish, Richard stops at the awesome store. This fish was a bit odd, though he was really friendly and had a special precaution. He shouldn't be overfed, otherwise he'd grow larger. Also, Gumball noticed he was different until he started to speak with him. When they try to take a group photo, he speaks and makes the whole family scream in shock, going accidentally down the toilet. He's not a regular fish, though, so he'd come back to the Wattersons' house on his own, and, along the way, his legs would grow. It took some time for him to get there, but when Gumball sees him, he recognizes him and have their best time yet. Gumball, seeing that Darwin now has legs, would give him his own shoes, which he'd use for a great amount of time. That's how Darwin joins the Wattersons' family, and, with Gumball, they'd be more than brothers. Best friends. They start going to the same school at the same grade and would grow up together. Everything was going fine until the third element of the family arrives. Sweet little Anais Watterson, an extremely intelligent, and diabolic as well, little bunny. Since she was little, she puts emotional pressure on their brothers and creates situations to screw them over. To teach her a lesson, they put her on a cardboard box that ends up in the garbage dump. After a heroic rescue, she says her first words. It was him, Gumball. Despite her masochist's tendencies as a newborn, she doesn't keep those traits as she grows up. She would, in a turn of events, pay for everything she's done with their brothers since they are the ones that would torture her with their dumb ideas. She was the clever girl of the bunch. At 4 years old, Anais would skip their brother's grades at school. Since she was a prodigy, she would also end up alone on her own, having no friends. Being a clumsy girl and having quite an airhead family, she'd facepalm every time they did something dumb, bringing her severe brain injury going forward. But, at the end of the day, they were always a close-knit family, and I must give an emphasis on Nicole, who sacrificed her happiness and carried the family after all these years. Thanks to her, their children grew up happily, even if they had a hard time financially. A dad who's quite the child himself and a mother that worked full-time. Thanks, Nicole. So, we get the beginning of the show. The siblings start going to school, meet their exotic, colored and diverse classmates and, of course, begin having their school crushes. Gumball falls in love with Penny, and Darwin falls in love with Carrie. Those love stories, mostly Gumball and Penny's, are one of the main focuses of the show, along with the void plot line, so we'll transit between them. One day, a solar eclipse was planned, and Gumball thinks that's the end of the world, so he wants to do everything before it starts. One of those things is getting married to Penny. He uses a big laser ring, and she declines and says, maybe in 20 years. Some days after, Molly Collins brings them to her treehouse, and those two are very important. Molly and her treehouse, they were pretending every girl had a boyfriend even though none of them had one. Masami wanted to kiss Darwin, and Penny and Gumball were in the mood as well. Still, everything goes wrong, and at the end of the episode, Gumball and Darwin get to share a kiss together. It was shown that Penny wanted Gumball's affection, but he didn't have initiative to talk to her. A few episodes later, they are invited to a party, and they must find a partner to go with. Gumball doesn't have the courage to ask Penny, and instead goes to the party with Tina. That makes things very awkward, and on that party, we can see Molly and Rob on his original form. Make sure you remember them. At the end, Gumball makes up with Penny, and promises he's going to have the courage to invite her the next party. A long time after that, they meet up with Rob, someone they don't remember at all. They don't even remember his name, making him bummed. After all, he thought they were friends. Darwin's solution for that problem was kicking Rob into a manhole so that he stops annoying them, and he disappeared since then. Meanwhile, Gumball and Penny got closer and closer, while Penny's father wasn't quite fond of Gumball. A Watterson's curse, it seems. We know, though, that he wouldn't give up on Penny so easily. He duels for her love and almost gets hit by her father's car, and they kept getting even closer. That is until Leslie shows up, a flower-shaped boy that spent his whole day talking with Penny. That made Gumball very jealous, manifesting a demon inside of him. He almost kills everyone, until he finds out Leslie is actually Penny's cousin. Even if he wasn't, he's not actually into girls. Everything goes back to normal, until Gumball dreams Darwin kissing Penny. Even if it wasn't a dream, he annoys Darwin, who didn't do anything wrong but still has to apologize. He's got serious jealousy issues to sort out before he gets into a healthy relationship with Penny while he tries to prove to her father that he deserves her. We must also understand how Gumball's universe works. The creators of the show decide to break the fourth wall, showing in many ways through many episodes that they live in a cartoon, and even the characters know about that sometimes. It's a universe limited to their creator's full potential, centered around Gumball. After all, it's his amazing world, and anything that deviates from this creative vision or planned script can immediately affect that universe. And when something is considered useless, it gets banned to a place called the Void. The characters can get access the Void. After all, they are aware that they are a cartoon. That way, they can go beyond the Matrix, and that's one of the coolest things about Gumball. One of the first showcases of this universe's behavior is when Richard stops following his script, being the universe's laziest person. He manages to get a job as a pizza delivery guy, and when he finds out he can steal some slices of the pizzas while he delivers them, he gets extremely motivated, delivering them fast and flawlessly. That confuses the universe. It makes no sense to have Richard that has a job. That starts to mix the whole reality up, messing everything up, putting everyone at stake. That's prevented when he's fired, and everything goes back to normal. Another reality-shaking moment is when Gumball, Darwin, and Mr. Small start investigating Molly's disappearance. Remember Molly? That tree house where Gumball and Darwin shared their first kiss simply disappeared with Molly, along with every memory anyone ever had of her. That is why no one ever missed her. Investigating this space bend, they find out about the Void. Then, they find out that the Void is a place everything that shouldn't have existed gets outcasted and forgotten there. One of those things is Mr. Small's van, who still remembers it because of his tinfoil hat. They save Molly from the Void, not noticing Rob was there as well, so he tries to save himself clinging in the back of the van. And on this dimensional trip, he loses his original form, losing his texture and original shapes while they keep glitching on him. Now, back on the regular world, he meets with Gumball and Darwin again, telling them he's sorry about his lack of usefulness to that universe. They try to make him find a purpose, but nothing works out, and he gets really flustered. Looking at the position he ends up, he gets the idea that he could be a huge villain, proclaiming himself as Gumball's arch nemesis. He doesn't take that seriously at first, but he should, and things get even stranger when Banana Joe's mother paints pictures that are actually premonitions. Things that are bound to happen. That's for the future. Though, let's get back to Penny and Gumball. One day, at a school play, Gumball hits his head directly onto Penny's peanut shell, which makes her father want to take his daughter out of Elmore Junior High once and for all. Gumball encourages her to get out of her shell to rebel against her father, and Penny takes that too literal, revealing her true form. Gumball gets shocked and doesn't show reaction, making Penny sad. That's when we find out that Penny shapeshifts according to her mood. That way, she's transformed into various creatures until Gumball gets to tell her everything he feels about her, expressing to her that she's beautiful. They kiss and she comes back to her own shape. That way they officially become a couple. They are dating, and, of course, Darwin wasn't happy about that. He got really jealous after Gumball spent too much time with Penny, but, after all, Penny is a really nice girl, and Darwin would soon realize that after she holds a wedding ceremony for Darwin and Gumball. Someone who also had a hard time agreeing with the relationship was Penny's father, and Gumball was willing to give him many opportunities for it. But he's Gumball. He always does something wrong. After that, lots of events start to happen in the universe. First, Richard makes the family face bankruptcy. He converts the family savings into solid gold, believing that sending this gold to another country would only take him throwing a briefcase into the sea. What a genius. They get so broken that the whole production of the show doesn't have any money to make the show as they did. They get more and more simplified as the episode go on, becoming storyboards. In order for them to get some money to get out of bankruptcy, they sign a deal to make a TV spot for Joyful Burger. Following that, the universe goes through insane changes. They're forced to become Elmore suburban family and become lifelike role model characters. Alan, the most optimistic character from the show, gets sad and the whole universe gets black and white. In one episode, on a real Death Note homage, Sarah finds a Cartoon Network book that turns everything she writes into actual developments on the real world. In the middle of it all we find Rob, making even more plans to ruin Gumball's life. He notices the universe is getting unstable. His plans don't go according to plan and aren't exactly ruthless, so Gumball tries to help him to become a true villain, making him even angrier. He plans a fake kidnapping that leads to serious problems. The plan goes too far, and he ends up arrested by the Donut Cup. He eventually gets out of jail and needed something big for his overwhelming revenge. Of course, he found something at the Awesome Store, a TV remote control that is able to control the whole universe, able to go backwards, forwards, pausing it, even able to delete a character. Basically Adam Sandler's Click. Remember, Rob gets to turn Gumball's life into a real mess. He gets into a car accident, Nicole and Richard get a divorce, Gumball kisses another girl in front of Penny and he accidentally throws her out of the mall's floor. Rob reveals that he's the one doing all of those things, opens a portal to the void, and has the plan to get Gumball stuck there. Gumball then is able to get out of the void, fights for the remote, and turns things back to normal, throwing Rob in there again. He regrets doing that after he realizes that, if it wasn't for him, Rob wouldn't be in the situation he's currently in. After Gumball rescues him, Rob gets his chance to have his revenge and deletes Gumball once and for all of the show, till he realizes that Gumball is also a nice person, and that they could in fact become friends. To make everything go back to normal, he presses the rewind button back until after he bought the controller, destroying it along with every chance he had to make amends with Gumball. Since he rewound everything back in time, that never happened, and Gumball doesn't get to develop any empathy with Rob. To make up with everything, Rob also decides he doesn't want to be Gumball's arch nemesis anymore, even if he doesn't get to acknowledge it. He then would become Banana Joe's arch nemesis. Gumball wasn't going to accept that, since he's even jealous about his own enemies. He can't accept that Rob is hating someone else, so he annoys Rob so badly that he remembers why he hated him in the first place. He gets to come back as Gumball's arch nemesis, and tries to ruin his life again, but nothing works. That's when he realizes that space and time can be merely modified by the actions of the characters. The whole universe was just a huge entertainment method, and that the main focus was Gumball after all, and he wanted to change that. He kidnaps internet himself and tries to convince the audience that Gumball isn't as cool as everyone thinks, trying to make another show with something else, but he doesn't get to come up with anything successful from that. That's when he finds out about Banana Barbara's mythical powers. She can predict the future, and he kidnaps her, takes her to a shed and forces her to paint the future for him. Amidst everything, he finds out there's even more. Through her paintings that predicted the future, she was also able to change it. And once again, he was able to rewrite the story of the show, starting by erasing Gumball from existence. Still, that doesn't go well, and who ends up erased is Rob himself. Gumball and Darwin feel bad for Rob, still, and tell Barbara to paint him again, now with something funny. A pigtail. However, the scene that Barbara paints is Rob falling in the void, and, during the whole episode, she repeatedly states that there is no future and that everything was gonna end, representing this statement with static noise. The show was getting off the air, the series was coming to an end. She reinforces that when Gumball and Darwin say that they see themselves in the future, and she replies that there is no future. That's when we reach the final episode, The Inquisition. In this episode we see the new school superintendent, a grumpy and live-action old man, saying he's gonna correct the school's odd behaviors. Through a machine, he corrects every character into a more realistic version of themselves until they become actual live-action people. However, Gumball finds a way to turn them back into normal characters, and they manage to defeat the superintendent, but soon they realize that he was actually Rob in a disguise. He tries to tell them he had an actual reason for that, having a justified meaning to protect everyone from a greater evil. Of course, no one believes in that. Tina smacks him on the ground and he remained there, unconscious. He, in fact, realized that the series was coming to an end, and thought that the best way to avoid that was to update the cartoon into a live-action series. That way they'd be more likely to survive. Still, since no one listens to him, the end of the world finally comes. A hole is opened into the ground right where Rob is located and he's the first to fall inside of it, fulfilling Banana Barbara's painted prophecy. And that's how the show ends. That is, for now at least. After all, it's clear that the showrunners didn't intend to end the story of the show with that episode. He wanted to give a closure, but everything depended on Cartoon Network. Now, he's finally gonna be able to do as they intended, not only with a new movie, but with a new series. But basically, the first confirmation of what's supposed to happen was already painted by Banana Barbara. A picture of the Watterson family running away from their falling apart world, where everything is becoming the void. That's probably a few minutes after Rob's fall into the void. According to the synopsis, the movie's going to be a story about this world's apocalypse, and how they'll be able to revert that through a whole reset in Gumball's world. And that's going to be used as a reason for the new series, something that I thought was extremely genius and I can't wait to watch it. Maybe after a while I come back with the complete history of Gumball with every event that happened in this new show. I hope you're here with me as well, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a thumbs up. That helps the channel a lot by YouTube standards. Make sure to subscribe the channel and comment below what you think is going to happen in this new series. With all that said, thank you for watching this video. See you next time.